My name is Jessica Kowalski. I'm 26 years old, and this is a story of how I came to know Jesus. My dad was raised Catholic, and then my mom is a practicing Wiccan, which is witchcraft. I just knew even from a young age, even before I was a Christian, that I did not agree with her. I didn't believe in those things, but I don't know, something in me knew it wasn't true. What I had gathered over time was that Christianity was about being a good person, but the Christians that I knew in my school were not very nice people. When it came down to it, I just decided that I was an atheist. So I was really involved in all kinds of community service. I was a Girl Scout. I did like everything. And so I would make this argument to Christians that I can be a good person without God. I said, look at all these things that I've done. Look at all these people that I've helped. That I did genuinely want to help people, but I also knew that it made me look good. So one day, one of my friends came to me and said, hey, do you want to go to church with me tonight? It was a Wednesday night. And my first reaction was like, do you know who I am? Like, I don't go to church. Like, it's not my thing. But I thought it would be funny to go and watch a bunch of Christians sing to the air. And so I went to church for the first time for the purpose of going to make fun of Christians. That's where everything started to change. So I ended up going to church. Being really involved in theater, I could appreciate the aesthetic. I could appreciate the professionalism that their production put forth. And so I looked at it from my atheistic mindset and said, I think that your message is false, and I would even say harmful, but you put on a good show. And so I ended up going back the second time. It was very different. At the end of the service, I ended up in the front of the room, and I was on my knees, and I was crying, and I didn't know why I was crying. I felt a hand on my back, and so I turned around, and there was nobody there. And it's so hard to explain, but that was the first moment in my life when I felt truly, unconditionally loved. I didn't know how to pray, but I said, if I could feel like this one more moment in my entire life, I think it would be worth giving everything for. I lived around thousands of Christians, and I never once heard the gospel. And so this lady came along, and she began to explain it to me, and I was so surprised that it made sense. And she began to explain how Jesus stood in the gap, that he came and lived a perfect life, so that he could be a perfect sacrifice. I thought church was just this social place that a bunch of hypocritical people who thought they were better than others went to go hang out, but I came to find that it was the one place where truth could be found, my brokenness could be made whole, and I knew that this is what I needed. Only about a year and a half after that, I was serving at a youth camp. And it was there that I felt this stirring and this calling to go into ministry. I went to a small Baptist school in Dallas and studied ministry, and right out of college went into work full-time at a church, which was very much contrary to my plan for my life, or what I thought I was going to do. This was not just something that was just another piece of my life or just a piece of my story. This was everything, and Jesus was everything. I was reading the Bible, and I came across this verse in Acts 20:24 that says, I do not consider my life of any value, nor as precious to myself, if only I may finish the course that is set before me to testify to the gospel of the grace of God. And I was like, that. Like, I want to do that. I want to live like that. So even after I became a Christian, it wasn't that all my problems went away. But as I was a Christian, even though I was feeling some despair for this life, I no longer struggled without hope. Charles Spurgeon said, I have learned to kiss the wave that throws me against the rock of ages. And I love that quote, because now no longer did I see my struggles as God's judgment or his hatred for the world. And now I can see the struggles, and I know that God uses it to push me back to him. And so I've learned to be grateful for the struggles. As I look back, I can see that the Lord took a young, prideful, depressed atheist and encountered her and transformed her, I know that God is faithful. And if he can do what he did with me, it's given me a lot of hope to know that he can do